Again na naman po tayo, may panibago na naman po tayo pang babasahan. Itong babasahan natin ay isang lalaki naman. Ang pangalan niya ay Ferdinand Martin Gomez Romualdez. Romualdez, o di ba? Alam naman natin, ito ngayon, mga patok yung mga name na yan eh. Kaya, ang dami po nagre-request. Ano ba nakikita? O ito, again. Entertainment news lang po ito. Wala naman po sanang magtatampo at magagalit. Ang tamaan ay huwag magalit. Ayun. Ako po walang ibig sabihin. Binabasa ko lang ang tarot. Martin Romualdez. Martin Romualdez. Pakita mo sa akin. Ano ba? Okay, Martin Romualdez. Ay, wait. Balasa ulit. May isa agad lumabas. Labas mo na yung ano di para maka... Ayan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again. Martin Romualdez or Ferdinand Martin Gomez Romualdez. 1, Ferdinand. 12. Ayan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 12. Ayan. Ito na po ang kay Martin Romualdez. Kay Ginoong Martin Romualdez. Aru. Masyadong sensational siya. Sobrang pinag-uusapan. Sobrang nadidikit ang pangalan niya sa dalawang matitinding personalidad ng politika ng Pilipinas. Ito ay sa ating presidente at sa asawa ng presidente. Nakita niyo naman, ang linaw po. Pero bakit ganun? Nagre-represent siya ng isang huwad na anghel. Kasi po, kaya huwad na anghel, pula po ang pakpak na lumabas sa kanya. Ito po yung ating presidente at ito naman po ang asawa ng presidente. Ibig sabihin, siya lang tatlo po ay lumalabas. Pero nagtataka po talaga ako, ang pagiging anghel niya ay pula ang pakpak. Ayan po ang anghel na pumapagitna sa kanila. Ibig sabihin po nito, tapos siya po ay naka-violet. It will bring, again po ini-interpret ko lang po ang tarot nakakatakot pero sabi nga nila sabihin ko ang lahat. Ito naman ay kung makakarating sa kinauukulan, wala po akong binabasang script. Ito po. Ano po ba ang ibig sabihin ng violet? Ano po ba ang dala ng anghel na ito? Dito sa dalawang mag-asawa. Ibig sabihin, ang dala po ng violet ay nakakatakot. Hindi ko alam pero bakit mas mataas siya dun sa dalawang mag-asawa. Na supposedly dapat mas mataas ang presidente pero dito po, nakita nyo po, napapailaliman niya ang presidente at ang asawa sa larawan. Ito po ay nagre-represent ng kay Ginoong Romualdez. Ayan. Kaya nakabaliktad po ito, kaya nakaano, ang psychic po ay hindi nagdi-definition na nakabaliktad o mababasa po ito. Kapag po ito ginanito, anong interpretasyon? Ganun pa rin po, di po ba? Nasa ibabaw pa rin sila. Ayan po, nasa ibabaw pa rin si Sir Romualdez ng babae at lalaki. O, nakabaliktad. So, ano po perception? Ganun pa rin po yun. Huwag nating i-misinterpret. Matagal ko na po ipinapaliwanag sa inyo ang baliktad o hindi. Kasi po, pagbuhay ang tarot, walang definition ng baliktad at at nakatunghay or what. Yan. Oh. Ito po ay ang kastilyo na pinamumunuan ng dalawang tao. So, ang ibig sabihin po nito, dapat ang isipin ay ang happy home. Ibig sabihin, dapat isipin ang kapakanan. Ayan po yun. Pero, ang nangyayari po, may ibang nagro-rule. Bakit nagro-rule? Wala po si Sir dito. Pero lumabas ito sa tarot niya. Ang ibig sabihin po nito, sa lahat ng gagawin nitong dalawa, maaaring madawit ang pangalan niya. Kung bakit, yun po hindi ko alam. Sinabi po ng tarot. Ito ay palasyo, ito ay ang babae, ito ay nagsisignify din ng mag-asawa na nagpapatakbo. Pero dumikit siya kay Sir, kaya Martin Romualdez. Kaya laging madidikit at madidikit ang kanyang sitwasyon or anumang bagay. Kasi ang plano ay laging nadikit sa kanya. Yan. Kaya mag-ingat, Sir, kasi dito po kasi lumalabas na ang pakpak ay pula. May mga bagay na lihim na nakakalkal sa pamamagitan na rin ng kinalalabasan ng pamumuno nitong lalaki at ng babae. Yan. So, dito, makikita natin na talagang dawit na dawit po at lagi kayong kadikit ng dalawa. Mga plano. Ito po ay plano ni Sir Martin Romualdez na ipinakikita ng tarot kung saan nagpapakita siya ng imahen ng pagiging anghel. Pero makikita niyo po dito, itong planong ito ay parang hindi kinakagat ng mga tao. Bakit po? Makikita niyo po dito na ang mga tao sa halip mabuo ay nag-scattered. At ang tinitingnan ay ang mapapakinabangan lang, pero ang idea hindi. Hindi. Ito po ay mga tao. Hindi po ito politiko, kundi mamamayang Pilipino. So, ang iniisip ng iba, ito ay pag-a-approach para mawala ang kanyang pangalan dito sa mga gulong nangyayari sa pamumuno ng babae at lalaki. Yun po ibig sabihin gumagawa po ng approach si Ginoong Martin Romualdez para mapabango or mapaayos ang tingin sa kanya ng mga tao. Maaaring siya ay gumagawa ng mga social gathering or na para sa pangmasa o kaya ay pamimigay ng mga tulong sa mga taong mahihirap, pero natanim na po kasi sa isipan ng mga tao. Kaya medyo delikado po doon. Parang ang mga tao ay sa halip na maniwala ay lalo kayong nababatikos. Kaya medyo pag-isipan po ang bawat galaw. Pag-isipan po, ayan po, pag-isipan ang bawat galaw. Kasi nga, you cannot please anybody. Hindi ko po alam kung ano itong after ni Sir Romualdez, dahil dito marami po kasing I don't know kung ano to, parang ano to yaman, pera, parang ganon, yaman, pera.
Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. For a long time, I chose to remain silent. I did so out of respect for the legal process. I did so because I did not want to add more noise to an already divisive issue. I did so because I believed that if I cooperated fully, submitted myself to the proper authorities, and answered every question asked of me, the truth would eventually speak for itself. But there comes a point when silence is no longer prudence. My silence has been abused and weaponized to build a narrative that is false, twisted, and unfair. So let me be clear. I will not keep quiet anymore. I will face this head on, and I will speak with facts because the truth deserves to be heard. Today, I am taking this opportunity to speak directly to the Filipino people. From the start of this controversy, I have been cooperative. I personally appeared before the proper authorities. I voluntarily submitted my affidavit to the ICI. I provided the information and documents asked of me. I did not hide. I did not run. I did not evade scrutiny. I faced it head on within the proper channel because I know there is no evidence that proves I committed plunder, conspiracy to commit plunder, or any similar offense that the Ombudsman may be contemplating against me. And because I have nothing to hide, I am today authorizing the immediate public release of the affidavit I submitted, together with all supporting information so that the Filipino people can judge for themselves who has been transparent and who is simply being politically targeted. Now let us address the most absurd accusation of all, that I am supposedly the mastermind of this corruption scheme. How can I be the mastermind? I was the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, but the House of Representatives is only one part of the branch of government, the legislature. The national budget is not conceived, executed, implemented, bidded out, supervised, and completed by one congressman or even by Congress alone, and certainly not by the Speaker of the House. I want to make this simple and clear. The national budget does not depend on just one person. The budget does not begin in the House. It begins in the executive. The agencies and departments prepare their proposals. The executive consolidates them into the National Expenditure Program, and that program is then submitted to Congress. From there, the House deliberates, but the House is not one person, and it is certainly not the Speaker alone. It is a collegial body made up of hundreds of members, multiple committees, vice chairs, and institutional processes. In fact, there are around 85 committees, each with its own jurisdiction, leadership, and members. No speaker can personally control every committee, much less direct the actions of other branches or government agencies. And in the Appropriations Committee itself, there are already more than 100 members, with many vice chairs, and Representative Toby Tiangco, who has been very vocal and upfront on this issue over the past months, was himself a vice chair of the Appropriations Committee in the previous Congress. So I have to ask, if there were real concerns about irregularities in the budget process, why were these not formally raised during the deliberations, or even during the plenary? The budget deliberation does not stop in the House. The Senate also conducts its own deliberations, reviews its own version, and plays its own role in shaping the final budget, and it is not a bystander. It is an active constitutional participant in this process. After that, the House and the Senate reconcile their versions in the bicameral conference committee. Only then is the final bill transmitted to the President for approval or veto. So let us be honest about what becomes law. The national budget is not the act of one person or one chamber. It is the product of a constitutional chain involving the executive, the House, and the Senate. This is something I want the public to understand. The budget process is collective, multi-layered, and shared. Accountability must apply to everyone involved, not selectively assigned after the fact, and certainly not when it becomes politically useful. If corruption were to occur in a magnitude made known to us over the past months, then it's clear that the real corruption does not happen at the level of the general legislative approval alone. It happens at the level of execution of the General Appropriations Act. It happens when projects are implemented. It happens where projects are actually implemented, where procurement is undertaken, where monetary disbursements are actually made. And it happens when substandard projects are passed off as legitimate or when ghost projects are made to appear real. That is why command responsibility is far more logically relevant in the executive branch, where there is actually supervision, operational control, and implementation on the ground than in the collegial legislative body where constitutional role is deliberation and appropriation. Congress does not build flood control projects. Congress does not conduct procurement. Congress does not inspect whether a project was actually completed. Congress does not certify whether the work done was substandard or not. So if the allegation is that there was a systemic corruption in flood control implementation, then the public should ask the obvious question: where does implementation actually happen? Definitely not in the session hall of the House of Representatives. Here's the simplest way to test that theory that I am the mastermind of this scheme. If I were truly involved in a fraudulent scheme of this nature, then the first place one would expect to see that pattern would be in my own district, in the projects most easily associated with me. You would have seen it in Tacloban, but I say this with absolute certainty. You won't see it in my district. My district has 0 ghost and 0 substandard flood control projects. 0. And that is verifiable. To prove this point, I'm authorizing my staff to share and release to the public the list of all the projects in my district that the authorities may deem attributable to me. Let the public scrutinize and verify for themselves. As I already mentioned, corruption of this scale is not a one-man operation. It requires 2 things: budget decisions and implementation on the ground. With respect to how the budget was deliberated in Congress, let me say this categorically. I was not a part of the BICAM and the small committee budget deliberations. Yes, I was updated on the general outcomes of the deliberations, but I had no visibility with regard to the specific details of the discussions, including particular amendments or insertions approved during these closed-door deliberations. Records would show that I did not participate in those meetings and I was not privy to what exactly transpired during the deliberations. However, 2 people were instrumental in making those budget decisions: Chis Escudero and Zaldico. And once the budget becomes law, the work of implementing flood control projects, or any project for that matter, is solely within the purview of the executive, including the DPWH, certainly not by legislators. I understand the anger of the public. The Filipino people have every right to be angry because stolen public funds are taxes derived from hard-earned money. I'm not asking the public to look away. I'm asking everyone to look where the evidence points, not where it is politically convenient or politically motivated. So I ask the Ombudsman and the public these questions. Who has been named in sworn testimonies and affidavits? Whose name actually appeared in credible accounts made under oath? If there are sworn accounts pointing to other personalities across the chain, whether in budget deliberations or in implementation, then those leads must be pursued with the same seriousness and the same urgency. Accountability cannot be selective. For months, I chose silence because I believe in our legal system and in the rule of law. But my silence is now being exploited with politically engineered and fabricated narratives. What's even more disturbing, and this is something that cannot be ignored, is that there are emerging indications that certain sectors are attempting to weaponize individuals, including Zaldico, to construct a narrative that serves their own interests. So when the legal processes is being used against me as a political demolition job, then I will have no choice but to defend myself.
Tapos na ang boxing kung ang pag-uusapan ay ang impeachment case laban kay VP Sara Duterte sa House of Representatives. Balwarte kasi ng mga kalaban ni Sara ang Kamara. Kaya asahang mai-impeach si Sara at maitatransmit ang kaso nito sa Senado. Ang tunay na laban ni Sara ay nasa Senado. Dito malalaban kung guilty ang boto ng mga senador sa kaso ni Sara. Para makunbik po si Sara, kailangan ng 16 votes. Ulitin po natin 16 votes ang kailangan para makunbik si Sara. Batay sa Constitution, 2/3 po ang boto sa 24 membro ng mga senador ang kailangan para magkaroon ng guilty verdict. Pero mukhang malabo na makunbik si Sara. Sa ngayon kasi 5 senador pa lang ang lumulutang sa Senado tulad ni Bam, Kiko, Risa, Ping at Soto. Paano na yung mga DDS senators tulad ni Amy Babanocchio? Nako, si Robin, Marcoleta, Go at mga kasamahan nito. Sa majority naman, naririyan yung mga re-electionists tulad ni Loren, si JB, Rafi, Mark Villar. Lalaro po ito dahil tatakbo sila sa senatorial race. At kapag lumusot sa 2028 presidential election, si Sara matinding bengbangan ito. Sabi nga ni Sara, kamay na bakal ang kanyang ipatutupad sakaling maging pangulo siya ng Pilipinas. At kapag lumusot si Sara, baka makulong si Bongbong at malamang matulad sa kanyang tatay na itapon sa paway o kaya ipatapon sa Hawaii.